Well, on the national stage at the United States Supreme Court today, justices heard oral arguments about Idaho's near-total abortion ban.
And the court's ruling on this case will likely have implications for abortion laws in other states. And NBC's Ken Dillion has the full report.
Oral arguments have just concluded here at the Supreme Court in a hugely important case, testing the question of whether a federal law governing emergency room treatment can trump Idaho's strict state abortion law, and by implication, the anti-abortion laws in many other states. At issue is the Federal Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, known as EMTALA. It's a 1986 law that requires hospitals to provide emergency care treatment to people in need. And the Biden administration is saying that can in some cases include an abortion when the health of the mother is at issue. Now in Idaho state law, it allows doctors to perform an abortion only when the mother's life is at risk, and that's the conflict, and that was the subject of most of the argument here. And the liberal justices really went after the lawyer for the state of Idaho, saying there is a stark contrast here and that there are certain instances where women are at risk of losing their organs and doctors aren't treating them in Idaho and other places because they are hamstrung by this law. The Idaho counters that actually the federal law doesn't specifically require abortions in certain cases, and that's going to be the issue here that these justices have to decide. Back to you.
And following arguments this morning, we heard from major Idaho players who traveled to D.C. for the arguments and the hearing on both sides of the debate. Idaho Attorney General Raul Labrador discussed his takeaways from the proceedings. Idaho minority leaders, who again traveled to D.C. for today, they pushed back with their own arguments.
EMTALA says nothing about abortion. In fact, EMTALA requires that emergency rooms care for pregnant women and their unborn children. And under Idaho's law, doctors are expected to treat women facing life-threatening situations, as well as women experiencing ectopic pregnancies and miscarriages.
It is awkward to come to terms with the fact that the law that they championed has caused complete disaster to the state of Idaho, and it's much more convenient for them to just say, oh, la, 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 this isn't happening, nobody else is telling me the truth. But facts are facts, numbers are numbers, and they can only run from it so far.
Idaho's law and EMTALA are consistent. They both seek to protect the lives of women and their unborn children. The Biden administration can't manipulate one life-affirming law in favor of another so they can override another law.
You're hearing the things they're saying, not believing doctors, physicians aren't leaving, and that's just not true. This is basic counting, right? We can count the number of doctors who've left our state. We can talk to medical facilities that cannot recruit a physician into our state.
Supreme Court justices will rule on the interaction of EMTALA and Idaho law later this year, likely in the summertime, maybe in June. We'll keep you updated.